Welcome to Donington Park. It's the final round of the Thundersport GB Championships for 2017. The HMT Racing Thundersport 500's Elite and Senior, of course, all machines out there on Dunlop, who will be a headline sponsor for this championship next year. HMT Racing still involved as the headline sponsor for the Senior Cup and the Freshmen's. This title has already been decided. 222 Pete Bardell on pole position, and he won this championship quite a long time ago. John O'Toole there is second, of course, victorious here in the endurance race that happened at Donington. He does a lot of laps around here as part of the Haslam family, obviously, but its horrible conditions yesterday was dismal, and there is a packed grid as ever. Second place in the championship, all to play for here as we come into the final day of action. Two races, normal points on offer, 25 for the win, 20 second, 16 for third, etc. On board here with Roddy Taylor now. He will move into second place overall in the Senior Championship as he jostles for positions, heading through Hollywood and down into Craner curves. The riders you need to look out for second and third overall in the Elite Championship are Josh Leaning, number 121, always easy to spot him there, beaming bright yellow helmet and the number 121, and Graham Freer, who's just been brilliant since pretty much the halfway point of the season onwards, number 191. Known affectionately in the paddock as Bud, apparently. Not quite sure why, but he is actually side by side of him. There he is, number 191. Now, after a day at the office yesterday, Graham Freer crashed to, well, didn't finish the races. I'd say crash. I'm just going by the results I've seen. Didn't finish both races. Josh Leaning finished in fourth. Therefore, coming into today, there is a 15-point lead for Josh Leaning. So, number 121 there with a 15-point advantage over 191. 121 and 191. They're the guys you need to look out for. At the start of this one, though, not so many familiar faces at the front. It's 15 and 17. That's an awful crash there. That's Angus Goff, who's gone down. How unusual a crash that was. Leaning over, having made the move. Great to see him up and walking away, but that was very strange. He was then about to put a move on number 15, Tony Wastage. That's Pete. Is that Pete Bardell pulling into pit lane? Right, yeah. I don't know what's happened. Maybe he's just said, I've seen enough. The weather's horrible. I'm going. But he's out of this one as well. How unusual. Number 175 there is Nick Anderson from Scarborough on the JLR Performance Honda. That is not the Nick Anderson who won a championship with. How bizarre was that crash, Sid?
Lucky though. Well, he just grabbed a handful of brake, I guess, but he was lucky not to get collected there, wasn't he?
He really was, yeah. Barrel rolling down the circuit. He's okay.
It's unusual.
Using the national circuit here, of course. There is Pete Bardell. Well, is it a bike problem?
Yeah,
does he just not fancy it?
No, he loves the wet, and he's good in the wet. It'll be a problem, it'll be a fault. Or he might have forgotten to put any petrol in it. You never know.
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
These Thundersport 500 riders, they're a funny old lot. They really are.
He hasn't got a championship to win, has he, Steve? So.
Well, he's already done it, hasn't he? It's all
exactly.
done, so he'll be on the top step of the presentation in January. But there is still a race going on. You can hear the wind there coming into the cameras. It is a filthy day here at Donington Park to round off the season. But it's Tony Wastage that has the advantage on the online carpets Honda, a rider I know well. Back when I was racing, Tony Wastage was racing in Junior Superstock, and he's handy on a 500 here as well. There he is, number 15 on the right hand side of your screen. Josh Leaning and Graham Freer battling for second and third in the championship are in this mix as well as they head down towards the chicane on this national circuit. Freer it is then that takes the lead ahead of Tony Wastage. Freer has to finish ahead of Josh Leaning ideally in both races, and based on yesterday's performances, Freer has to finish full stop really if he wants any chance of finishing second in this championship. Here's Roddy Taylor making up a load of places. Lovely move there from the Scotsman who resides in Aldershot, I understand. But a good move there for Roddy, who will be second in the Senior Championship. That was won by Adrian Teasdale some time ago. So here they are then, the race leaders. Graham Freer with the green wheels, number 191 ahead of Tony Wastage. Josh Leaning is there, number 121. 175 coming into play is Nick Anderson and Adrian Teasdale, the Senior Champion, as I mentioned. Bright yellow wheels just at the back of that group.
Can't miss him, can you?
You can't, no. I think him and Josh Leaning are battling for the brightest colour scheme of the season.
I'm surprised that looks so well because he dumped it yesterday, did Adrian?
Well, he's okay at the moment. He's up there as Josh Leaning. There puts a move on Nick Anderson, 175. Sid, I can't confess to knowing too much about this Nick Anderson. Can you shed any light on that yourself? I've
No.
not seen that number 175 up at the sharp end. The only Nick Anderson I know is, of course,
Yeah.
former 600 champion with us,
yeah.
but it is not the same one.
No, it isn't.
So I apologise, Nick. I don't really know much about you other than the fact that you're pretty quick. You're here inside the top 5, mixing it with these guys. Brilliant stuff. Great to see the senior champion having a proper good go here.
Oh, absolutely.
There he is,
said
number
he was going to
34.
go for it. He said he was.
He certainly is not holding back, with Pete Bardell out of the race and Angus Goff as well. Number 191, there he goes through. Surprised not to see John O'Toole as part of this leading pack. Something must have happened to him. He's fallen well back. Here's Roddy Taylor again making up a note. There is John O'Toole. Roddy Taylor's joining him. Roddy Taylor is flying through the pack here. Brilliant stuff from the number 71. Meanwhile, at the front, it is Graham Freer doing what he needs to do, which is leading this race. He's just ahead of Nick Anderson, number 175, the rider from Scarborough. Then Tony Wastonage, number 15, from Rotherham. Then it's number 34, Adrian Teasdale. A bit further to travel for him, Carlisle. And then you've got Josh Leaning mincing about in 5th place, number 121, the rider from Scunthorpe.
I'll tell you what though, Steve, in all honesty, I mean, these senior riders, I mean, the way that they're dicing near the front is amazing, isn't it? I mean, truly, truly amazing.
When we say senior rider, it's not like Adrian Teasdale's 74, cocking his leg over a bike, though. We should just point
he
that out.
74.
So,
No, I'm
glad
only
you said
joking.
that.
No, he's a good lad. he
But,
is.
you know, the senior... and there's a commentary curse.
Oh, no.
There is the commentary curse. Adrian
Sorry,
Teasdale goes down at Coppice Corner. Well, he's feeling senior
Even
now.
74,
Yeah. That's hopefully he's okay.
He had a poorly back yesterday
Well,
after his
It's
crash.
got a bit worse, I'm afraid. A bit of acupuncture is on order for Adrian Teasdale. I'm afraid he's gone out of this race. What a shame. He was going so well.
Oh, he was.
Across the line then we go, and it's all changed then. Graham Freer it is that leads 191 from Nick Anderson and Tony Wastonage. I don't know what's happened on that last lap too. Josh Leaning back there in 4th. He's just lost touch of these guys by a bit. Further back we've got, look out for the Otter, Daniel Otter 162, Chris Jones 66, Liam Kirk as well. There's a big group of riders all here. Look, John O'Toole, Jody Chalk in there as well. All of these guys fighting to try and
Brett
find
Haley,
themselves.
you can't miss him with those levers, can you? He's right at the front of that guy, 3rd in that gaggle. Look, he's really doing well.
Him and Roddy Taylor,
I know.
as a result of Adrian Teasdale going down, of course, battling for the senior win here. Nick Anderson, I don't know who you are, but you are getting yourself properly involved here. Number 175. There is Graham Freer then that leads from Wastonage and Anderson, and it's allowed Josh Leaning a chance just to get firmly back into this
hang
battle.
on a minute, he's on a JLR Performance Honda, which is Josh Leaning Racing, isn't it? So
Well, that doesn't really make much of a difference to me. It still doesn't shed any light as to who he is, Sid.
no.
So I can't really comment. In the background, Adrian Teasdale's bike still being removed from the gravel trap. Here is Graham Freer then up ahead of number 15 Wastonage. Then it's Josh Leaning in 3rd place and Nick Anderson in 4th. As
It's not the Nick Anderson, is it though? And like on a borrowed bike from Josh. I'm just wondering whether it is now. Now you've said that.
Nick Anderson as in the...
Yeah.
No. Nick's not from Scarborough.
Oh no, that's true. No, that's true.
Nick
No,
was
you-
from down south. That
Down
way.
south.
Down south.
Shandy drinker.
So I tell you, you're pushing your luck here with the insult.
Luckily, I'm well known in the paddock.
Well, as it stands, with Graham Freer leading this race and Josh Leaning in 3rd, that would be 9 points gained to Graham Freer if the checker flag went out now, which would mean it would be 6 points in it going into the final race this afternoon. Josh Leaning will want to turn that particular statistic on its head, and now he's just fallen to the back of this group. It gets worse for him. So Leaning won't want to see Graham Freer picking up 25 points. He wants Wastonage there in 2nd and Anderson to really get themselves in the mix, or ideally him. Still a stationary yellow flag there going into Coppice Corner.
Yeah.
And further back, yeah, you can see the rest of them all scrapping away. It's 191, Graham Freer from Tony Wastonage. Then it's Nick Anderson. Number 121, Josh Leaning still there in 4th place. whoever that is in 5th. I can't quite get a reading of the number on the front of the bike, but they're closing. They are closing on this pack. I wonder if that's...
not 66, is it?
Might be. Here's Roddy Taylor
Chris
going past
Jones.
Jody Chalk. An all Scottish affair here on the brakes down into the chicane. Just up ahead of them is Brett Haley, who Sid mentioned. 73 is Daniel Swift inside the points. Then number 21. 21 is James Lee. There is 129 at the front of this group, Neil Attenborough. And then Haley, Taylor, Chalk, O'Toole. Uncharacteristically low down there for O'Toole. And 122 is Paul Leonard.
I like the colour of Paul Leonard's bike. It's like that battleship grey, but it just looks nice. It's just, I don't know, there's some lovely turned out machines in this lot, by the way, Steve.
Oh, down we go. Someone's got down in a big way there, joining the Craner Club. That's a real shame. And that is 105 Scott Gregg, I'm afraid. Gone down there and really upset with himself, whacking himself on the helmet. Well, there we are. I mean, that just sort of sums up your Thundersport 500 crew sometimes. It's Nick Anderson here, through into the lead. Number 175 up ahead of Graham Freer and Tony Wastenage. In 4th place then, Josh Leaning. There you see a replay, and that is a proper face plant into the grass there for Mr. Gregg.
Oh, bless him. At least he got up all right.
Yeah, rider. Well, he got up okay. We knew he was all right from the moment he started punching himself in the head. Well, maybe that means he really isn't. It's a good look round there. Graham Freer having a proper cheeky look over at the rest of the fields. Tony Wastenage there, dangles a leg down into turn 1. These guys really do have some fun out on these 500s. Around to Hollywood we go. Further back here, Brett Haley closing in now on number 129, Neil Attenborough.
After these races, Steve, I'll tell you, Park Fair, mate, is like a kid's playground. I mean, it's hard to get their attention, you know, they're all laughing and joking and...
Well, there's no change there, Sid. The time that I've spent in the Thundersport paddock from the moment the Thundersport 500s came over, they've all been a bunch of kids, even
brilliant.
The senior riders.
Oh yeah, more the senior riders.
Here is Nick Anderson then, that leads, coming into McLean's. I'll have to do some research between races here and find out a little bit more about Mr. Anderson, because it looks like he could be heading onto a podium at some point soon. If he is to do with Josh Leaning Racing, Sid, he might not be after this race, because he could be costing Josh some points here.
I wonder if they thought of that.
But there we are.
But if that is the case, then...
is that definitely what JLR means?
Josh will screw his racing. JLR performance, yeah, it's Josh Leaning Racing performance.
It's just that they're normally under the name of Leaning Racing, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, step 2.
Whatever. Across the line we go then. Another lap peeled off. There's Roddy Taylor up ahead of O'Toole. 122 there is Leonard. And then 87. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from the grey. It's not often a grey bike would catch my attention, but that's not bad looking.
It just looks lovely, actually.
And there's a problem here for number 129. Out of the race there, it looks like, for Neil Attenborough. Over at Redgate, a mechanical issue of some description.
Well, he's normally in the van when I call him up on the podium. He's, you know, when he gets a podium, he's normally already back in his van. Well, so he's obviously, there's something that lures him back to his van early.
Well, there could be many reasons for that.
Yeah, exactly. Let's not go there.
Let's not speculate. Further back in the pack, there's number 101, always easy to spot. Colin Mooney. Great stuff.
Cole Mooney, the old greyhound.
Yeah, Daniel
Come
Kappa
back for one.
is in there as well. And another grey machine. 117 George Davies.
Yeah, good to see George back.
Nick Anderson leads this one from Graham Freer. Graham Freer, though, got the inside line and late on the brakes takes the lead of the race. This is so important for Josh Leaning, who's in 4th at the moment. If he sees Graham Freer taking this victory and he finishes in 4th, there would just be a single point in this going into tomorrow. 25 and 13. Sorry, no, there'd be 3 points going into tomorrow as we see a move here. John O'Toole up the inside there of Roddy Taylor. who's had a pretty eventful race by all accounts. The number 71. You can see here it's wet. There's a few dry lines starting to appear. Nowhere near dry enough to even dare slick tyres on a day where wet races
this
have
is
been
only
declared.
the second race of the day, isn't it? So, you know, it's early days. It's not supposed to rain for the rest of the day. So, but it's obviously slick. It's obviously wet tyres for this particular occasion.
Bit of a moment there for Graham Freer, and trying to challenge there is number 175 Nick Anderson around Schwantz Curve up towards McLean's we go, and Wastonage now back into a threatening position. Graham Freer at the moment doing what he needs to do. Wastonage though now up on alongside him. Will he have a look into Coppice Corner? No, not quite. Josh Leaning still there in fourth. Needs to use the slipstream to his advantage as they all hammer it round now around Coppice onto the back straight, all into each other's slipstreams. Graham Freer has lost out on a place or two there. Tony Wastonage through. Nick Anderson's waving his arms in the... I don't understand sometimes what goes through the minds of a Thundersport 500 rider. I don't know if that's some particular signal to a rider or not. On to the start-finish straight we go on this national straight. The last lap flag is out. Josh Leaning there in fourth. Well, he's going to lose quite a big bunch of points. They're coming up to put a lap there on number 25, Ben Martin. Graham Freer has dealt with that nicely. Around the outside there, Tony Wastonage. That was a rather audacious line.
Tony Wastonage got pole position in qualifying. Obviously, I think he got it nicked away in the mega lap system by Pete Bardell overnight, but...
These two are now just peeling away from the others. Nick Anderson and Josh Leaning look like they're fighting it out for third. Josh Leaning could do with that place. Graham Freer it is that still just about has this advantage. They come around Schwantz Curve again. Tony Wastonage closing in the yellow rear wheel there, the number 15. Trying to find a way through. He really does. This could be going all the way down to the final corner. Graham Freer, who didn't finish and get points yesterday, desperately needs some today. Tipping it now into Coppice Corner for the final time. It is make your move now, Tony, in second place. He'll get into the slipstream. Further back here is number 97. That's Lee Howarth, one of our Royal Navy riders. Lee at the moment inside the top 10. Just behind Liam Kirk. An arm up again there for Nick Anderson. I don't know what on earth he's doing. But let's keep our eyes on these guys fighting for first and second. Here comes Tony Wastonage. He's not quite close enough. Last of the late breakers there for Graham Freer. And it's all going to go down to the line. The checkered flag is out. That's some decent drive there from Tony Wastonage on the line. Oh, this could be very close indeed. Oh, I can't call that. Checkered flag is out. I cannot call it. I don't think either rider can either.
No.
They're looking around at each other.
They were dead level.
Josh Leaning further back and Nick Anderson. Nick Anderson took third, and I can tell you that Graham Freer has won it by 1/1000th of a second ahead of Tony Wastonage. Now that could be so critical in the points come the end of today in terms of second in the championship. Nick Anderson was third there as well. So there's your top three: Freer, Wastonage, Anderson. And in the seniors it was Brett Haley, the winner, from Roddy Taylor and Paul Leonard. Right, let's see how race 2 fares in the hunt for the runners-up spot in 2017. The action continues, but for the final time in 2017. Good news is, it's windy, which means the circuit has dried. The bad news is, it's windy, and it's cold. But anyway, let's see how we get on. Pete Bardell back on the grid again, of course, the champion. He'll be hoping that any problems he encountered in race 1 are all gone now. We just saw there John O'Toole, Angus Goff as well. He won't want a repeat of what happened in race 1 where he went down on the approach to the final chicane here. But there is some points on offer, and it's all to play for second in the championship. Graham Freer won the race earlier by 1/1000th of a second from Tony Wastonage, and the 191 is 3 points down on Josh Leaning, number 121, coming into this race to decide who finishes runner-up to the man that we're on board with at the moment. Pete Bardell, who aggressively goes around the outside there of John O'Toole into turn number 1. These dry conditions mean that we will see 1 or 2 other names in the mix here. And, well, let's see how close we can get to... well, we won't get to lap record pace, that's for sure, because it is still pretty cold. And a few damp patches we see there. John O'Toole aggressively fighting his way past the champion Bardell. Angus Goff is there in 3rd place as well. So immediately 3 riders at the front that weren't featuring in race 1. Now that could prove rather critical in terms of what happens to Graham Freer and Josh Leaning. On board again with the RP Motorsport champion. Up the inside into McLean's, neatly done by number 222. Pete Bardell is through.
You might well notice, Steve, when we get the Pete Bardell onboards, we've had to zoom the picture in very, very slightly so that you can't actually see all the manhood of the picture on his front mud guard, the porn star on his front mud guard, because obviously being in the public domain could be watched before the watershed. We can't have that, can we?
Who else other than Pete Bardell? What a surprise. He knows how to push it to the limit, doesn't he, RP? Across the line, he is leading this race from number 17, Angus Goff. There's your classic kind of pitboard signal on the right there.
Yeah.
A couple of hands will do if you can't afford a pitboard. There's Josh Leaning and Tony Wastenage. Now, coming into this race, how critical will those extra 5 points be to Graham Freer, winning that race by 1,000th of a second? I can't recall. Someone's got down big time there at Craners. There's another one for the club, I'm afraid. I'm not sure who that was, but someone has gone down fast at Craner Curves. Now, I'll try and work out who that is in a moment. There is Pete Bardell. Angus Goff's there in 3rd place as well. Yeah, I can't work out who that is at this moment.
Well, it's either, looking at who's gone missing, it's either, it's one of the senior guys, isn't it?
Not sure, Sid. We'll find out shortly. We'll find out what happens. But here we go, down the back straight. There is John O'Toole. There's Angus Goff up the inside of him. And then it's Josh Leaning just tucked up behind. Onto the start-finish straight we go. Josh Leaning at the moment is ahead of Graham Freer. It's exactly what he needs to do. There's your pit signal again. Bit of a bigger gap behind you this time. I tell you what, you won't see that in MotoGP. Roddy Taylor making some headway again. He gets the slipstream nailed, doesn't he? And he's just about to try and have a go up the inside. No, it doesn't work out on James Lee. Pete Bardell is away with this one. Josh Leaning now up into 2nd place. This is so crucial for Josh. As it stands, he would take the 2nd place in the championship. Angus Goff there, number 17, just behind him. Then it's John O'Toole. Graham Freer is just there as well. I just see a couple of spots of rain, or are my eyes deceiving me? Not sure, hard to say. Bardell it is though, that has this one at the moment, from Josh Leaning. Angus Goff, then John O'Toole. Graham Freer now in 5th place. He has to finish ahead of Josh Leaning in this race, it's as simple as that. In terms of his championship charge.
Well, Brett Haley and Richie Connell went missing on that lap, so it was one of them that you saw. I don't know which. I know Richie Connell, bear in mind that they had the number 24 on their board. Same with Josh Leaning and Mark Leaning and Bud Freer, all for Fran Fletcher, who lost her life at a classic club event a few weeks back. Bless her. Very sad indeed. Nice to see that she's being remembered by a number of riders in this field. Graham Freer here is now getting really busy. He's just made up a couple of places, and Josh Leaning's had a look over his shoulder and he's seen the rider he didn't want to see, Graham Freer. Now they're not catching Pete Bardell at this moment. The champion has just got enough of a gap that he's opened up. He's done this so many times this year. He's so quick out of the traps, is Pete Bardell, that by the time these guys have actually got on terms with them in lap times, he's already gone. Yeah.
And this is kind of
he obviously wants to stamp his authority on the very last race, doesn't he?
But he's doing just that. Josh Leaning and Graham Freer were rather apt, I suppose, that the 1-2-3 in the championship are 1-2-3 in this race as we speak.
I love the name, team name of Bud Freer, Freer's Wheels. Reminds me of Sheila's Wheels on the advert. Oh dear, just funny, isn't it?
There's some funny old moves going on further back through the pack. Behind these guys, you've got Chris Jones, James Lee, Jody Chalk, Nick Anderson, who did so well in race 1. By the way, as we see Angus Goff here up the inside of Graham Freer, did a little bit of research, the short amount I could, between race 1 and 2. Nick Anderson is a rider that races on the roads in the Manx GP and of course in Scarborough. So an accomplished rising star in the road racing world, Nick Anderson, and by the looks of things not bad on a 500 at short circuit racing either. So maybe a name that we'll be talking about for a few seasons to come, you never know. Here's Roddy Taylor then, just being challenged there by 194 into turn 1, Jordan Ashington. There is 129. Of course, Neil Attenborough didn't have such a great race earlier on. Here's Graham Freer though, now up into second place. He moves ahead of Josh Leaning. Now, well, that's crucial. That would give him the championship second place with Pete Bardell leading. Sorry, the championship. He'd give him the runners-up spot. Giving him Pete Bardell's title now. But yeah, that would be enough. Basically, in these positions that they're in, you've got to finish ahead of your rival. It's as simple as that. In second and third, Josh Leaning can't afford to let that happen. Roddy Taylor just a bit wide there. He loses out to Neil Attenborough as they head up towards Coppice Corner. We're now on board with Rod further back, just behind number 175, Nick Anderson. I can't quite work out who we're on boord with right at this particular moment in time. I'll tell you what, that was close.
No. They obviously took the label away, didn't they?
Let's have a look and see who that is. I can't work it out. No idea at all. I'll try and work out who that was in a moment. Has Leonard got an onboard camera?
I can't remember.
No, you can't remember either, Sid. Well, there's a shock. Graham Freer is in second place in this race ahead of Josh Leaning. John O'Toole is there in fourth place. Pete Bardell still out comfortable in the race lead. Angus Goff just at the back of this pack as well. John O'Toole mixing it up. Angus Goff, one of the standout riders in the latter stage of this season, really has come on song, shown what he's made of, and he just goes up the inside of Josh Leaning.
I was just looking at some of the names. I didn't actually realise that Jody Chalk's team name was Chalky Moto.
That has been all year, I think.
Has it?
Yeah.
I just didn't notice it for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, if you look at, there are some choice names
of
teams.
I'm just looking down them, yeah.
Really, there really are some choice names.
Nang Racing. That's Neil Attenborough. That'd have been good for Sam Ho, really, wouldn't it? Been a good name, I thought. Rat Out Racing, Elliot Humphrey. Yeah. Machado. John Wilson. Machado Racing.
Have you finished, Sid?
Sorry, yeah, I'm just having a bit of fun.
Oh, is that Jody Chalk that we've been on board with? Or Lee Howard? Sid, you take the cameras from people. I mean, surely it's Roddy Taylor we're on board with. Of course it is.
Yeah, but yeah, well, we've had Roddy Taylor. We've been on board with Roddy Taylor.
Yeah, I know, but I was asking you earlier and you didn't pay attention.
No, I was busy reading some other stuff.
Sid's intrigued, having...
Literary.
We have had team names and odd teams' names. Sid's Thundersport 500 came into play. Sid's only noticed it now in 2017 and is fascinated by it. Whilst there's a race going on for second in the championship. There's Jody Chalk up ahead of 175 Nick Anderson. I've got an excuse. I'm slightly jet lagged.
Fast racing.
I am slightly jet lagged, and I've got a bit of a cold.
Oh, you poor soul.
You, on the other hand, cannot be excused for your lack of knowledge.
Excuse me. I actually worked myself to death. I'll have you know.
Across the line here, there's all sorts going on in terms of this fight for the championship. There's John O'Toole side by side with Graham Freer. Angus Goff there just behind, and Josh Leaning. Josh Leaning wants something big to happen here because at the moment he's going to be kissing goodbye to P2 in the championship. Pete Bardell still leads this one outright. That ain't changing. There's Chris Jones, number 66, further back ahead of 21. who's James Lee, and then you saw there Nick Anderson, Jody Chalk, as well as Daniel Capper. This is your battle for second place though. As it stands, Graham Freer there, courtesy of his results today, would take the runners-up spot in the 2017 championship. John O'Toole trying to get his nose in there as well, and Josh Leaning just hasn't really had an answer in the latter stages of this race to be able to directly contend with Graham Freer when he needs to. Roddy Taylor here, well, he's going to finish second in the Senior Cup after a really strong second half to this 2017 campaign.
How many of these bikes came into the UK, you reckon, then? Sold into the UK by Honda? I only know because I looked the other night.
I've got absolutely no idea, Sid.
Over 187,000.
Really?
And most of them are here. No, they were just, some people were saying to me that there's some of them are sort of hard to get bids for. I can't believe that.
But if there's 187,000 of them kicking around.
Well, even if 3/4 of them are in the scrapyard squashed.
Yeah, well, that's quite possible, isn't it? Here is Roddy Taylor again, making some great moves here, getting himself properly involved.
He's late on the brakes, the old boy, isn't he?
He certainly is. Lee Howarth there getting busy as well. Out front, still Graham Freer in second place. There is number 5 just going through on Roddy Taylor, Daniel Capper through Craner Curves. You can hear there, they're not even shutting off on that left-hander. I mean, these 500s are not 600s, so they're not blisteringly quick, but that's fast.
They're only twins.
Flat out, downhill.
Parallel twins.
You wouldn't want to ride pillion.
I'll tell you what, we got, well, it isn't a problem, it's a nice problem to have actually, but the way the registrations are coming in for this class again for next year, it's looking like unbelievable.
Pete Bardell here is looking very good. Josh Leaning has regrouped, number 121 at the back of this pack. He's trying to find a way through. Graham Freer there as well. This could be really important next couple of laps here. We have not got long to go. Graham Freer, brilliantly done. Sitting up there was John O'Toole. Angus Goff goes through. Josh Leaning now goes through, side by side with John O'Toole. And the last lap flag, he's out. It's now or never for Graham Freer and for Josh Leaning. Pete Bardell is just rolling it off, really. I think he almost wants to get the popcorn out to see what happens going on behind him. At the moment, it's advantage Freer for second in the championship. He's there ahead of Angus Goff, John O'Toole and Josh Leaning. This battle continues to rage on between Roddy Taylor and number 5 Daniel Capper. There's Jody Chalk in there as well, and Anderson and James Lee. Proper battle. All of these guys inside the top 10. Chris Jones in there as well, Lee Howarth. But here we go again. Graham Freer leaving his best lap till last. He's got enough air there between himself and Angus Goff. It's going to take a mistake now. Josh Leaning is finally making his way through. He's looking for the inside line ahead of John O'Toole. But Graham Freer, number 191 there, red bike, green wheels. It would take a mistake now for him to lose second in the championship. And Josh Leaning is going to be a bit gutted about this. It's not worked out his way. There's Pete Bardell on the back straight. He's going to win the final race of the year in what has been a stupendous championship winning season. But there is Graham Freer in second place, and that will do it. The checkered flag is out. Angus Goff here launching underneath John O'Toole in terms of the last podium place. Josh Leaning at the back of this group across the line. Checkered flag out. The champion Bardell wins it. Graham Freer takes second place and takes second place in the championship as well. It will be third for Angus Goff, John O'Toole fourth, Josh Leaning fifth. Josh Leaning will finish third in this year's championship, but this is the man they've all been chasing this year. And you can see there, even though this has been wrapped up for a while, as Sid rightly pointed out, he wanted to prove a point in the last race of the year, just to remind everyone who is boss. Pete Bardell, race winner from Graham Freer, Goff, O'Toole, Leaning and Jones. There you see the top 3, Bardell, Freer, Goff on the podium. And top 3 in the seniors as well. Paul Leonard, the winner from Neil Attenborough and Roddy Taylor. Now in the championship, Pete Bardell, we know, got it. 4 points the difference then between Graham Freer and Josh Leaning in the end. Angus Goff was 4th overall in the championship ahead of John O'Toole. Will Leaning, who didn't take part in the second half, 6th. Adrian Teasdale wrapped up the senior title. Roddy Taylor was 2nd, and Alan Tanton, who missed a large part of the season, has somehow managed to hold on to 3rd overall. In the 500 freshman, we already knew that Adam Campion got that one sorted out. Steve Shrubsall was second. Ryan Meaden ended the year in third overall. It's been a great year in the Thundersport 500s, and as Sid said, we've got so many entries. We've got lots to look forward to. We'll see you in 2018.